Hi, I'm Kevin America. Welcome to our class. Today we're going to talk about three very important prepositions. Don't go running. I know prepositions can be a little tricky. And in fact, prepositions are a little tricky. But you know what? We're going to try to make three of them a little easier for you. Okay? So we are going to do an in, on, at triangle. So let's start with the triangle. Here we've got a triangle. You'll notice the triangle is divided into three pieces. One is the very smallest piece. That's going to be at. Okay? One is easily the largest piece, and that is in. And of course, in the middle, the medium piece that's in the middle is on. Okay, this is our in, on, at triangle. Now we're going to use this in, on, at triangle to answer two questions. One, we're going to answer the question, where is something? I wonder. And number two, we're going to answer the question, when is something? When does something occur? Now, the idea of the triangle is pretty simple. Let's think of the question where, okay? I'm asking, where is Venezuela? Well, Venezuela is in large places, it's on medium-sized places, and it's at very specific places. So let's think of looking at a map of the world, okay? We're looking at a map of the world when we answer the question where. Now that's an important note. We have to remember that when we're using the in, on, at triangle to answer the question where something happens, that does not mean we're on the ground looking around. Hey, where is my pen? In my pocket. No, that's not what we're saying. Where is my son? Oh, he's in the kitchen. No, that's not what we're saying. We're not talking about being on a table, right? That's not what we're saying. Today, we're using in, on, at to answer the question where in the world. So imagine we're looking at a map of the world, okay? Here's North and South America. Here's Europe and Asia, Africa down here, and Australia. So we're looking at a map of the world and we're asking, where is something? So what's the largest place on a map that you can think about? What's the largest kind of place that we can imagine? How about bigger than a country, right? A lot of you are thinking country. What's bigger than a country? A continent. Continent. So let's begin with the question, where do I live? I live in North America. I have lived in Europe. I have also lived in Asia, okay? Notice I'm not saying I live on Asia. No way. I don't live at North America. No, because North America is a continent, which is a big place, and big places we are in. We're in big places. So we've got a continent. What's smaller than a continent? A country. I live in the United States of America. In, you see, because it's a big place. What's smaller than a country? Can you think? What's smaller than a country? No, bigger than a city, but smaller than a country. What's between city and country? Well, in the United States, it's called a state. We are in a state. I am in Oregon. However, in Japan, it is called a prefecture. In Russia, it is called a region. Okay? In Brazil, it's called a state. In China, it's called a province. So it's all basically you have a country, and how do you divide your country? Each one is a state, a province, a prefecture, a region, whatever. That's, you're in it. You're in Tokyo Prefecture. You're in Hubei Province. You're in Minas Gerais state. Okay, now let's come down. What's smaller than a state? Smaller than a state is a city. So we are in a city. That's the smallest of the large places. But let's take a moment to realize, what do we mean by city? When I say city, I mean it could be a city, it could be a little town, it could be a village, it could be 5 families in one place. As long as that place has a name, you are in it. Right? I am in Kevin Americasville. It doesn't matter. Any kind of city, town, or village, you're in it. But that's the smallest one. Now let's go to at. Let's think. Okay, we're looking at the map of the world, and we're trying to answer the question, where? Where do I live? And we're looking at. We're trying to be very specific. So imagine I am on the phone with my pizza guy. I love pizza, trust me. So I say, hello, pizza guy. And the guy says, hello, Kevin America. And I say, hey, I would like to have a pizza delivered, please. And he says, sure, where do you live? I say, I live. Now I want to be sure my pizza does not go to my neighbor's house. I love my neighbor. They're awesome, but I want my pizza to come to me. So I say, I live at 1234 Kevin Street. 1234 Kevin Street. Medford, that's the city I live in. Oregon. USA. Okay? So I want to say at for a place that's very specific. Now, the pizza man has to know where to bring the pizza. I don't know. So I have to tell him, I live at 1234 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. That's called an address. So we live at an address. Okay? We live at an address. However, when my friend calls, ring, ring, and I say, hello, and my friend says, hey, buddy, where are you? Where are you at right now? I don't say, oh, I'm at 1234 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. No, I don't say all those words. I don't have to say that word. What do I say? Hey, where are you at right now? I am at home. I'm at home. I just used the word home. Good. What are some other specific places you can think of that you don't have to have an address? Where else? I am at, well, if I'm not at home, maybe I'm at work. Right? However, maybe I'm at the supermarket. That's an R. Supermarket. Maybe I'm shopping. Maybe I'm at the beach. Oh, I love to go to the beach, right? Maybe I'm at the beach, at work, at home, at the supermarket. However, maybe I'm at 1234 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. You hear all those ats? That's what we use. At. Now, I don't need to know the address of the beach to say that's where I am. I hope not. I don't know the address of the beach. So let's do a little practice, okay? Let me just go down. Oh, wait, we forgot. On. So let's think. Big places in, very specific places at. What's in the middle? This is an interesting one. Check it out. I'm in North America, in the United States, in Oregon, in Medford, on... But this is very specific. Check it out. We're only on a street. Isn't that weird? Let's look. We can be on a specific street. Okay, so I would say, now by street, I mean street, avenue, boulevard, lane, highway, any road that goes along a line that cars drive on. Now, any place, any address that is along that is on that street. So I live on Kevin Street, right? Isn't that weird? And so I tell my friend, oh, I live on Kevin Street. And they say, oh, do you live downtown on Kevin Street? Because Kevin Street's very long. Do you live downtown? I say, oh, no. I live outside of downtown. If you follow Kevin Street, I live on Kevin Street outside of town. Anything that's along that road, street, boulevard, lane, avenue, anything that's along that is on that street. Cool, huh? Okay. So we'll talk a little more about on in a moment. But first, let's do a little practice. Let me write a practice sentence down here so we can really understand what we're doing, okay? All right. So let's look. I've got a really long thing going on here. This is my address, okay? So we're going to determine if this is in, on, or at, okay? But not yet. Let's look at all the information we have here, okay? What do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4. I mean, that's pretty specific, right? But wait a minute. Here I also have Kevin Street. That's a street. That's a road. That should be on. And what do I have here? Medford is a city. Oregon is a state. And wait a minute, USA is a country. So I've got in, I've got on, and I've got at. But if I have one sentence with all of this information and using only one preposition, which preposition do I choose? Do I say I live on 1, 2, 3, 4 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA? Do I say I live in 1, 2, 3, 4 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA? Or do I live at 1, 2, 3, 4 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA? Here is the rule. Check it out. I'm going to bring out a new color just for this rule. Okay. If you're using all of these, or if you're using more than one of these kinds of places, then you want to go down to the lowest one you're using. The smallest one you're using, that's the one you should use. So let's practice so that we can understand this rule, okay? So I have ins, right? I have on, and I have at. So if I'm using all of these, then at is the smallest, so I live at 1, 2, 3, 4 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. Okay, because it's a very specific place. But what if somebody asked, hey, where do you live? And I don't want to be that specific. I don't say I live at 1, 2, 3, 4 Kevin Street. I just say Kevin Street. I live Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. Well, I'm using in for sure, but I'm also using on. Okay, am I using anything specific? Nope. So on is the smallest one that I come to. I don't go any farther than that, just on. So therefore, think of it as a ball that you set rolling. Boom, 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 and it stops here because I'm not using this. So I live on Kevin Street. I live on Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. Good. But generally speaking, when I'm traveling around the world, I love to travel, and I meet people when they say, where do you live? I don't have to tell them what street I live on. They don't know the streets. They say, hey, where do you live? And I say, oh, Medford, Oregon. But I would say I live what? I live at Medford, Oregon, USA. I live on Medford, Oregon. No. So remember, you use the smallest one, but let's see, I only have in. So therefore, I live in Medford, Oregon, USA. Oh, do you live in Medford? I have a friend that lives in Medford. Wow, really? He lives in Medford, Oregon? That's right. Wonderful. I also have a friend that doesn't live in Medford, but he does live in Oregon. Wow, what a coincidence. That's great. I have another friend that doesn't live in Oregon, but he does live in the United States. So we're in for big places. And remember, you use the preposition that is the smallest one you get to. Good. Excellent. Now, let's talk about when. So we're going to answer the question when the same way. Let's think of big times we're in. At is for small time. So let's go. What is the largest time you can think of? Largest amount of time. Let's look at a calendar. I have days, I have months, I have weeks, I have years. What about a year? So let's do a year. Let's see. In a year. In 1972. But what's bigger than a year? Actually, let's make a little room here. So a year is a big amount of time. We are in a year. But what's bigger than a year? Think about it. What if you had 10 years in once? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 in one block. That's called a decade. So we are in a decade. D-E-C-A-D-E, in a decade. And we tend to think of a decade as the 70s. I was born in the 70s, right? But I feel like I grew up in the 80s. Okay? Now, the 80s began in 1980 and ran all the way to 1989. And the next year was 1990, and that began the 90s. That's called a decade. But once more, let's see, what's bigger than a decade? More than 10 years in one block is going to be 100 years. So 100 years is called a century. That's right, some of you remembered, and some of you couldn't remember. A century! How do we speak about a century? A century sounds like this. Usually, just like the 70s, the 80s, we're going to say the 1900s. And yes, we're going to pronounce this 1900s. 1900s. So the 1900s began in 1900 and went all the way through 1901, 1902, 1910, 1950, all the way to 1999. Right? And that's 100 years. That's a century. And we're not actually in that century now, but I was born in the 1900s. Cool, right? So let's begin our pattern. I was born in the 1900s. I was born in the 70s. I was born in 1972. So let's put a little thing there, 1972. Now, big places in. What's smaller than a year? Smaller than a year. There's 12 of them. That's right, a month. So we are in a month. Okay? Right now we are in May. Yes, May. Right now we are in May. At least I'm recording this in May. But I was born in November. You hear? We're saying in the month. Now what's smaller than a month? Smaller than a month is going to be a week. A week. Okay? Now, we don't usually talk about weeks in our conversation. I don't know what week I was born in. Was I born in the 3rd week, the 4th week of November? I don't know. But we do sometimes talk about the week. And when we do, we were in. Easter is in the 2nd week after something or other. In the United States, we have a holiday called Thanksgiving. And Thanksgiving is in the 4th week of the year. Or excuse me, the 4th week of November. Right? Okay, what about on? No, let's skip on and go to at. Let's be very specific with our times. What are specific times? Everybody knows this. Let's make a number out of it, just like a specific place has a number. 1234 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. A specific time also has a number. What about class starts at 7 o'clock? Class starts at 7 o'clock. Oh, but yesterday we were a little late. So class started at 7:04. Okay? So whatever your specific number of time, we are at that number, you see? But just like here, I don't have to know the address of the beach. Let's think of some times that don't have numbers. Very specific times that don't have numbers. Hey, am I going to see you at lunch today? Oh, you know what? No, Teacher Kevin, I'm sorry. I won't see you at lunch today, but because I'm so busy. However, I will see you at dinner today. So here we're talking about meal times, right? That's a pretty specific time of day without a number. What else? What about when the sun comes up over the horizon? That's going to be sunrise. I'll see you at I'll see you at sunrise. Oh, or what about at sunset? I'll see you at sunrise. I'll see you at sunset. These are specific times of day that don't have numbers, and this we use for at. Now, let's go up to on, okay? We always skip over on because it's a sandwich in between. What's smaller than a week but larger than a time of day? Oh yeah, I should write that. It's called a time of day. Now, what's larger than a time of day but smaller than a week? This one's pretty easy. It's a day, right? So we're going to do this one thing 2 ways. Check it out. A day or a date. Wait a minute. That's 2 different words for the same thing. What is the difference between a day and a date? I bet many of you probably know the answer. And I've found in my experience, many students and clients have trouble expressing what is that thing, the difference. Here's an easy way. A day has a name, and a date has a number. That's right. A day has a name, and a date has a number. So you want to be careful with this. If you're having a conversation with a native English speaker, and they say, hey, what's the date? And you say, oh, it's Thursday. They get a little upset. Wait, no, I didn't say the day. What is the date? They want to know about the number. You say, oh, it's the 14th. That's right. So the days are Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And the dates are the 1st, the 2nd, the 3rd, the 4th, the 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, in the month. Okay, so a day or a date we're on. So I was born on Thursday. I was born on the 26th. So for a date, very often we're going to state it this way. And then write a number, 26, TH. You see? The 26th, the 3rd, the 14th. I know it can seem like a real mouthful to do that, but that's the way we do it. So let's review. I was born in, I was born in, I was born in, I was born on, and I was born at. So let's do it. Now we're going to do a practice sentence so that we can remember our rule. Think of it as a little marble that only falls as far as the kind of time you're describing. Same rule. Okay? So what do we have here? When was I born? Well, I was born at a time. That's very specific. Well, hold on now. I was also born on a day. But wait a minute. I was also born in a month and a year. And here we've got a date. So I've listed a day and a date. But be careful as we do this. The day and the date are the same thing. However, they're separated. So let's do it. I was born what? Well, let's drop the marble. I've got in, on, and at here. So in, yes, on, yes, at, yes. Okay, so that's our smallest one. We are going to say I was born at sunrise. I was born at lunch. I was born at 12:05 p.m. Thursday, November 26th, 1972. And yes, many of you who are not familiar with the United States are realizing now We actually do this. We say November 26th, 1972, instead of saying 26 November. It's true. We don't say I was born 26 November. Only in the United States, most everywhere else I have ever been, you take the day, month, year, right? Small, medium, large. Small, medium, but not in America. In the United States, we say month, day. So we go month, day, year. Okay. So I was born at, because I am that specific right now. But let's do the exercise. I don't need to know, and I very rarely tell people what time I was born. Mostly because I don't actually know what time I was born. I'm just creating a time for this exercise. So I was born, what? At Thursday, November 26, 1972? Well, let's drop the marble, and it goes in. Yeah, I have some ins. Okay, on. Yeah, I have some ons. And at. No, I don't have any ats. So on is the smallest one. So I was born on Thursday, November 26, 1972. Good, excellent. But let's take away Thursday. So I was born, November. November's an in. Do I say I was born in November 26, 1972? No. November is the next word. However, there is still an on in there. So we drop the marble. Is there an in? Yes, there's an in. Okay, so is there an on? Yes, there is an on. Even though it's not the next word, it's still there. So I was born on November 26th, 1972. Okay? Now, obviously, let's get rid of this. I was born in November 1972. Okay? And of course, I was born in 1972. And there you go. So let me review real quick so that everyone can hear. We're going to start with where. I live in North America. I live in the United States. I live in Oregon. I live in Medford. I live on Kevin Street. I live at 1234 Kevin Street, Medford, Oregon, USA. I live at home. Sometimes I am at work, and very often I am at the supermarket or I am at the beach. When was I born? I was born in the 1900s. I was born in the 1970s or in the 70s. I was born in 1972. I was born in November. I was born in the third week of November. I was born on Thursday. I was born on the 26th. I was born at 7:04 a.m. November 26th, 1972. And that's how you use it. If you're just using one for one in this year, on that date, at 7:04. But if you're using all of them, remember to come down to the smallest one that is present. Okay, that's our in, on, at triangle. I hope you got a little smarter. I'm Kevin America. Thank you for having a great lesson with me.